guys, welcome.
How you guys doing today? We have a good episode today.
Yeah, I'm pretty good. How about you, David?
Chilling. I was at work earlier in the morning, so I was up pretty early for once. There you go, Jacques. You're welcome.
Took you 7 months, but that's good.
Perfect.
How are you, Angel?
I'm doing well. David, check the audio. Is the audio good? It sounds a little bit different, right, Jacques?
You sound like you're far away, yeah.
Yeah, you sound like you're in the cockpit right now.
All right, are we good now?
Yeah, we're good now.
Are we good?
We're good. Nah, don't do that. But we're good. All right. So, David, intro our guest.
Yeah, today we have Tori Martinet. She was recommended to us by our good friend Mike's wife, Anna. And she's very knowledgeable, and we're excited to have her in today.
Nice. Looking forward to it. All right.
Hey, Tori.
Hi, guys.
Hey, what's up, Tori?
Hey, how's it going?
Emailed you to be like, am I doing something wrong?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm feeling a little like I need a big pair of headphones, but
David has a spare set, actually.
Listen,
we should have known.
No, I mean, listen, anything I get, they're just going to, rag on me for. So
You have a spare headset. That's the point I'm making.
fine.
That's all.
He does have a spare set.
I don't, actually. I gave it to my brother. We traded.
Oh,
That's why mine
right,
is so
right.
colorful.
is
Sure.
this like a trainer? You need like a big ass headset.
The bigger, the better as well, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, we were making jokes about how David looks like a fighter pilot right now.
It'd be great if I had that big, like, what's that mouth?
A
The
little
mouth
extra,
covering.
a little more, but
Listen,
it's all good.
as long as I can hear.
As long as you can hear her talk, then you're
Can I
good.
see what
I'm
this
all right,
looks
I'm good.
like? Can I see what? Can I see the profile? Like the.
Yeah, David, what you got going on?
Oh.
Wow. Is that camo?
It's fancy.
Yeah, I think it is camo. Listen, my brother's style is different than mine. Mine was all black.
Sorry, I took us on a really long.
That's
tangent.
all right.
No, you're good.
No, we could
Good
compare
icebreaker.
models. We compare models, and you get yourself a headset.
Okay, you guys let me know what's the best one out of what you have, and I'll make sure that I get one to match.
We
David.
got you. Don't worry. David, yeah.
That's it. And no content.
Oh, man. Oh, damn.
All right. Well, how you doing, Tori? How you feeling?
I'm good. I'm doing all right. Just
Chilling.
I don't know. I'm trying not to go too many places.
Yeah.
So
Especially with the shit going on today.
yeah, last we spoke, you were still on the West Coast. I know we spoke almost like it feels like a year ago.
It was
But,
a while ago.
It was a while ago. How was your trip?
It was good. I shouldn't say we. I just booked it back. I don't know if I told you two this, but I drove back from California by myself.
Wow.
No, I
Yeah,
didn't say
that face. I get a lot.
How long does that take?
So it depends on which route you take, right? And I went a more like scenic route where I went from San Diego, where I'm from, where I was kind of staying for a while. I went up to Northern California to see my brother, and then I went across, but like kind of zigzagged. So I left there right before Labor Day, and then I got here September 18th. So it was like 2 weeks-ish on the road.
Taking time to get across. What if you wanted to do it like as fast as you can? So it takes like about,
Like 4
Take
or
a
5.
plane.
yeah.
Yeah, where you could fly.
Well, David's got his own plane, right? So like that's,
Sure, obviously.
I need to go to his private charter.
I'm just saying, it's like, you're like, how to get there fast? You take a fucking plane.
No, I meant if you drove directly. That's kind of what I don't know.
A
Yeah.
friend of mine actually did that, and he drove from LA back, and he did it in 4 days, which I think is
Wow.
fine.
Damn.
That's one way though, right? It takes
Yeah,
one
yeah.
ways.
So I had a car in California that I wanted to have here in New York.
Mhm.
So I was like, I might as well just do it.
Bring it
Makes a lot
over.
of sense. Did you have any issues with the car? The car's good.
No, the car's good. I was like, I talked to you right before. I was like, I'm gonna get
Mhm.
the car checked out, and I'm gonna like make sure it's safe. Yeah, it was fine. There were no issues. I
Cool.
had it serviced at one point because I gave myself like several days outside the car just to like not be driving, because it
Yeah.
turns out that your right calf cramps up a lot when you're just
Oh man.
Oh, I can imagine.
and not drinking enough water. So, and I'm prone to like Charlie horses in my calves. So it was like day one, I was like, I can't, this is bad. So
Day one, you're done. That was it.
yeah, I gave myself a couple days, like for every like 2 days on the road, I'd give myself like a full 24 hours out of the car.
That's good though. That makes it more enjoyable.
And then I was like foam rolling and doing all the stuff. So,
but people would think that's odd, but I think that's perfectly normal. If you're in a static position for X amount of hours, you're
basically in an isometric muscle contraction for 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
And
like how often? Sorry, go on.
No, but that's the thing. Like there's no training for this. I wasn't like sitting at my desk doing, you know what I mean? So it was a really fun trip. I got to see a bunch of friends, and, you know, a lot of that time on the road counted towards my quarantine days. So when I got back here, not as much. So.
Was that part of the strategy? Just happened to be.
Happy accident.
That's actually really smart. I didn't think of that.
I didn't either.
Really?
But my friend who had done it just before me, he and I were supposed to drive back together, but then I had some family stuff and I had to stay in California longer than I anticipated. My nephew was born super, super early, so I was like hanging with my brother and doing some family stuff. But then I ended up like just deciding, instead of like, I could have like, oh, okay, well, so I missed the window to come back with a friend, and I was like, so I can either do it by myself or I can fly. And I was like, fuck it, let's do it. Let's go.
Fuck it, it's 2020, right? Everything's fucking shit anyway.
Yeah, like what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, our president has it, so, well, you know, one can only hope. No.
I don't know. I'm skeptical.
What else does he have?
That's a big one, though. I have been hearing a lot of these theories about, and I don't want to put it past the administration to be like, oh, you know, he's fine now, but it's all because of the bleach and the.
It's gonna make a miraculous recovery and
exactly
cured by hydroxychloroquine.
Exactly, and then it's a whole nother shit show.
I'm really not, but like I don't trust this man farther than I can throw him, and that's not very far. Anyway,
did you guys catch the debate?
Yeah, that was sitcom.
I actually watched the whole thing. It was an experience.
Like, how much alcohol did you need to get through it, though?
No, there were so many things online about, hey, take a shot whenever Biden does this. Take a shot whenever Trump interrupts. People would die. Like,
you'd be dead. Every time he interrupts, you'd be 50 shots in. You'd be dead.
I heard they're trying to, you know, add the mute button, which is something I thought should have been there for such a long time.
Yeah. I think they're going to do that on the next debate because he just won't shut up. Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be another one. I mean, I don't need another one.
No one needs another one. Yeah,
that's true. True.
But anyway, how are you guys doing? Everybody's hanging.
Yeah. Trying to stay busy. I feel like everyone relates to this, right? But I feel that like maybe like a year ago, obviously pre-COVID, every time you're like, oh, like it's October this time around, do this. I still think that like everything is so like day to day, week to week in terms of whether it's schedule building, whether it's like where you're gonna like. Even when you mentioned like if you go out of state, like it just everything looks so different this year. So I think everyone can kind of testify, and that's just like, but you can't get too stressed about it because you can't really control that much about it. So
I like blinked and it was 4 months I was in California. I was like, what happened?
But in San Diego, you said, right?
Yeah,
I heard the best things about San Diego.
Yeah, it's where I'm from. I grew up there. It was nice to be back. It's the longest, obviously, I've been away from New York in the 10 years that I lived here. So, yeah, it was fun. I was like on the beach. Everybody here was like battling it out. Like my tan looks amazing. You know.
No, we know someone. I think Jacques, you and I, Angel, you probably follow her too. She's a group fitness instructor who was in Greece for like the entire thing.
Oh yeah.
And they were like just living it up, party city in a cruise, just having fun. They're like COVIDiots. I'm like, okay. All right.
Oh my god.
That's what she called it. She's like COVIDiots. I'm like, I can't.
You go to TM now. That's so funny. COVIDiots.
She posted that a while ago. I don't think I saw it. Anyway.
Oh man.
Whatever. All right. Well, well, let's switch gears a little bit. Thanks for being on the episode today, Tori. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your professional career and your expertise when it comes to nutrition?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am Tori Martinet. I am I'm a registered dietitian first and foremost. That's probably one of the most important things to know about me and my perspective where I come from. I have been a dietitian for a little over 6 years. I have a bachelor's in cellular molecular neuroscience. I have a master's in nutrition and exercise physiology. Science is my jam. I have spent the last 5 or 6 years working in sort of the corporate sector of like food service. So the company that I've been working for, which I'm actually no longer working for, but we specialized in corporate dining, museums and cultural centers. And so I've been the director of wellness and sustainability for them for quite some time. And I have overseen like a team of like 5 or 6 other dietitians over the years, and really just like managing that space between like the crossover of food service and corporate wellness. So doing sort of like both at the same time while also managing like a lot of the business needs. And sometimes I think it would have been better to get an MBA, but you know, the thing that's come up for me in the time that I've been working is really that you know, I've always had this drive to help people find what works for them in nutrition, right? To help people identify specifically for them on a one-on-one basis, what is their thing that they need. And what I've come to realize over the years, both through, you know, literature that's published, both through research, but also just through like my personal experience and like my own like lived experience, is that I don't really see a place for diets in a world where people are trying to do their own thing, be independent nutritionally and be independent in their health. So my perspective is really coming from there. You know, I've seen it all in this job, and I've worked in, you know, sports nutrition, I've worked in corporate wellness, I've worked in food and restaurants and dining, everything from fine dining to cafes and all the above. And my real zone of genius is that space where we're like helping people sort of like reclaim their ownership of their food intake, and also teaching them food and nutrition skills as we go through the process. So I practice something called intuitive eating, which is a really, at this point, well-established framework of 10 different principles. I won't recite them, but you can certainly read them or Google them. But it's really all about like challenging things like, you know, in like false assumptions around body weight. There's a lot of challenging like norms and stereotypes, so that people can really pull back from that and say like, what's actually serving me, and redefine their relationship with food. So that's kind of where I come to it now. And I have a private practice called Tori's Table, where I do all of these things that I just talked about. I do a little bit of restaurant consulting and things, but mostly what I like to do is help people do one-on-one, like navigating the food space and navigating food relationships.
Nice. I mean, that does bring me to my next question about diet and lifestyle, you know, changes. What do you think what are the biggest differences in terms of somebody that wants to, you know, whatever, lose weight or, you know, build muscle, but is sort of still stuck in that whole diet mindset that I need to do this for X amount of time, X amount of months, as opposed to just making a general lifestyle change?
Well, I think what happens when you're in sort of like a diet frame of mind is that your choices are really not your own. You're not really autonomously making decisions based on what your body is telling you that it needs, right? So like if you're, for example, intermittent fasting, you're actually actively ignoring hunger and satiety cues, which I don't think serves you. If you're doing, you know, a particular diet that eliminates a food group, but your body is craving that food group, you're actively ignoring those cues from your body. And one of the things that's really tough, and that like probably the hardest thing about intuitive eating, but also actually the most freeing once you're sort of on the other side, is that you have to let go of the idea that your body weight defines your health, or that it defines who you are as a person, because your weight is not your worth. And it has nothing to do with your overall health. You can impact health factors without impacting your body weight. It also doesn't necessarily have to do with your fitness level, right? Like we've kind of talked about this, where like people assume that a lower body weight means fitter, healthier, faster, stronger, but it really doesn't necessarily mean those things. And it might in some cases, but it certainly doesn't for everyone. So I think, you know, to actually answer your question, I think if people want to lose weight, that is completely their prerogative, and I'm not here to shame them. Our society literally screams at you all day long that you should be losing weight no matter how thin you are. And I think what I want to do is offer people, and specifically women, an alternative, because I didn't know it was there for a long time. And I spent years and years dieting, and I spent years and years in the fitness culture and the diet culture thinking that that was the thing. And no matter how small I got, I was never happier with myself, because it's not about that. It's never been about that. And I think it's something that I've noticed a lot of women in my age group. I'm about to turn 33. It's, you know, you're realizing that I don't have the energy for this anymore. I'm exhausted from trying to be something that my body just doesn't naturally want to be. So I think it's just a very different mindset to be approaching dieting versus really saying like, yeah, that's maybe not for me anymore. What else is there? And then that's kind of where intuitive eating comes in for a lot of people. So.
Yeah. And also with, you know, magazine covers, you know, for years, the first thing they say is like the magic diet, you know, lose whatever in a couple of months. And I'm sure the guys, you know, when we have our clients, you know, the first thing that comes to mind, or the first thing that they say is, yo, well, I read about this diet. I read about this, and, you know, I've been trying it and it doesn't work. And what I usually tell them, and it may be different from what you guys tell them, is that, you know, it'll work for some people, but if it does work, it's only for a finite amount of time, you know, and then when it's over, you know, what are you going to do? Are you going to stick with that diet? Because at that point, you're just, you know, eliminating so many things from your life to just stay at one place that you may plateau at some point.
Well, and what's really interesting is that people assume that dieting is a one-way street of higher weight to lower weight. That's the assumption that gets made. But really what happens is it's more of a cycle where you end up higher weight to lower weight, and then you're like so exhausted and so restricted, and your body really thinks it's starving, that it then goes and finds and seeks out those foods, and a lot of people end up in like a binge restrict cycle. Dieting definitely leads to increased rates of eating disorders, which we can certainly talk about. But, you know, in this weight like loss section, yeah, you're losing weight and like maybe you're feeling good because society really like deems that acceptable and important, but then you're going to probably end up gaining it back on the upswing. And so people end up it's called weight cycling or yo-yoing, right? Weight cycling is more the like technical scientific term, right? Yo-yo dieting is like what my mom did, right? Sorry, Mom. But I think what happens is people assume it's A to B, but really it's A to B back to A again. And a lot of the time you end up at a higher weight than you were to begin with. A lot of the time, it's a really mentally exhausting road. A lot of the time you can pick up, you know, detrimental disordered eating habits on the way. So there's a lot of things that come with that people don't talk about. They want to talk about the weight loss, but really it's all the things that come with it.
Is it also, this is probably more just like hearsay or the not general like studies about this, but like there's patterns I see with, I think we mentioned this a little bit briefly when we spoke the other day about how some companies, like they're in business for a reason. And if their like model is to help you lose weight, yeah, there's definitely that possibility. But if you, like you said, if you cycle back to a previous way, maybe even heavier, you're a returning customer, right? That's, I'm sure for some companies, that's like a business model. Like, oh, we'll do you to get you to a place where you want to be. You're reset back to old habits, which it's like when people ask, I know it's not completely on subject with like liposuction, when people say like, oh, I'll just get liposuction. It's like, well, if your habits are still trash or as bad as they were before, you're going to go back to where you were before. I know that's a little off topic, but in terms of like habits and...
Right. It's certainly related. The wellness industry or the diet industry, because I honestly think those two things are synonymous, I want like billions of dollars. I don't want to misquote it, but I want to say it's like 17 billion. That could be totally
insane.
But like, it's a business, and anyone who thinks it isn't listening closely enough. And I'd say the same thing for like the skincare industry. I'd say the same thing for like most of the claims that are made out there are either unresearched or not factual, right? Like a lot of the claims that like this collagen supplement will help your skin, blah, blah, blah. There's either very limited evidence to support those claims or no evidence to support those claims in general, right? There are certain things that like, okay, maybe this is helpful for something, but typically it's really just, you end up with these returning customers, like you're saying. And for me, the best possible situation is that people come to work with me for somewhere between 3 months and a year, and then that's it. And maybe if you need a check-in from time to time, I'm here for you. But like the best possible thing is that you can come to me, get the skills that you need to really redefine your relationship with food, redefine your relationship with the kitchen, and then be off on your own and making your own life choices for good. And that's how you know, in my opinion, that like what I'm doing, I think has a very different set of ethics than the diet industry. And I think what's really interesting is that in the rare case where you do see extended term studies of outcomes after weight loss, 95% of them show that they're not successful. Success is defined as maintaining the weight loss over time. So you have like a 95% fail rate.
That's
which
crazy.
in medicine, I can't imagine no prescription drug is ever going to get past the FDA with a 95% fail rate. So why are we all still obsessed with dieting? It's crazy to me.
Yeah, that's mental.
Yeah.
And it's a radical idea, right? Like what I suggest is in fact like blows people's minds that you can actually not diet. And I think it's because people don't trust themselves to know how to eat, but that's what I want to teach people how to do. And especially women, I think we're taught from day one just not to trust our own instincts. And I think, that really comes into play, but it's really hard when you have society and like diet culture telling you constantly that you need to be something in order to be happy, or you need to be this in order to be successful, or in order to find love, or in order to be healthy, but they're just not related.
It's all over social media.
That's another issue. Yeah, social media.
And I think it's interesting. One of the things that I have people do is clean up your feed.
Like who you follow, you mean?
Yeah.
That's actually, yeah.
Unfollow it.
Yeah.
If you do the shift and switch from, and you guys could even try it for like a couple of days and see if you like it, unfollow accounts that post side by side before and afters. Unfollow posts or people who post that like any weight loss language. Unfollow people and like replace those with, body positive accounts. Replace those with other things. Like replace those. I don't care if you replace it with Martha Stewart, but like replace it with something that's not talking about food and diet. And it's like your anxiety goes from here to here. It's amazing. So I call it like a social media like feed detox. It's the only time you'll ever hear me use the word detox, because that's not a thing. But it's very interesting. When you stop being bombarded with those messages, it's like, oh my God, I can breathe again. I
don't want to track too far from, I think David Angel asked the next question, but like when I've had some people reach out about like, hey, we have a supplement, we love you. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Yeah. I have no interest. And like, I'm like, what is your, like, I told these guys how I had, what is the Herbalife? I had someone reaching out about trying to pitch Herbalife, and I was like,
Herbalife.
I just don't believe.
The way they did it was pretty funny too.
It was. She was like, I've got. Yeah, she was very nice. Well, she was like, I love your profile or whatever. I think I spoke to my partner about an opportunity that you might be interested in. I was like, this might be bullshit, but like, I have nothing to lose by jumping on a Zoom call. She's like, so how are you? Whatever. She's like, so the company I work for, you may have heard of it, Herbalife. And I just switched off, and I was like, all right, let me hear her out. Then what she says. And it was pretty much talking about like, yeah, when we help, like, I get the intent of wanting to help people. I get that, and it's good, and it's trying to break things down. I understood there was some of the ethics of it. Well, some for what I understood, but then when you're just trying to replace with shakes, and it's like, personally as well, when clients tell me they've like, oh, I had a shake, I'm like, what's in it? Or like, oh, some powder. I'm like, oh, can we have real food? And like, I know that once in a while, if you have that instead, it's better than, I understand. But like when we talk about like lifestyle changing, and if you always have that for breakfast, I think that might be an issue. But It just a common theme when I've seen it. And like, honestly, like I think anyone who wants to grow in the industry and have a positive image or positive impact, it's quite sensitive in what kind of outlets, opportunities you take up and you work with, right? Like, yes, it might get me to higher places or reach more people, but like at what cost? And then what am I communicating, right? Like if I speak to all my clients every day about having healthy diet or not diet, sorry, like healthy eating habits and just eating well and like pure foods and whole grains, whatever. And then I'm posting like, hey, get the supplement. Like it just doesn't go. And it just, I look
Use
like
code Jacques Fit 10 at the checkout.
That's for shorts. That's different. That's a different thing, right?
Oh yeah, okay.
It is. It's just clothing for workout clothing. It's different.
But like, I think you make a really valid point that relates back, which is, you know, I think I genuinely feel like I want to feel like most of the people who are like wellness influencers or whatever, their heart is in the right place.
Yeah, they want to help someone some way. Yeah.
And maybe they feel that they were helped by this product, or maybe the product is helping them have an income. I have a separate problem with multi-level marketing schemes, which we will not get into today. But if you want to talk about
maybe another episode.
No, but
Yeah, that's a good one.
like if you are getting income from this, if it's serving you and your family, if it's like, I get that 100%. Like it's not easy out there to be trying to sell. Like I'm out here trying to sell. Yeah, I can't really help you lose weight, but I can sure help you have a good relationship with yourself. Like that's not nearly as sexy. It's not
appealing. Yeah. For them, it's like, because it's not a quick change either.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a quick change and it can take a really long time for people, and it's hard work and people want the quick fix. And I couldn't really sell it anymore. I never really was, but I really couldn't see myself in a space where I was selling anything resembling a diet. And so, you know, I'm really happy to be doing something that aligns more with my value system or with my code of ethics personally. But I totally get why there's so many people in that industry. For one, it's freaking lucrative.
Yeah.
So it's what people want. So, you know, you're giving the people what they want. You're making money. Like, I don't see any reason to exit except for the fact that like, oh, it's actually not really probably helping people. And as a side note, Herbalife is actually one of the supplement companies that tends to pop. I'm so sorry. I think someone's FaceTiming me.
We can still see you, so.
That's fine. But Herbalife is one of the companies that tends to have, when supplements are audited by a third party, they tend to pop a red flag.
As in there's something in there that shouldn't be, like,
So companies like LabDoor, have you guys ever investigated this? Angel's nodding.
I've heard of LabDoor.
LabDoor.
Yeah, when it comes to like checking out products.
Highly recommend, and you guys could even like split between the three of you or whoever. Like it's not expensive, but you can buy a membership and you can see they literally go in and they pull things off the shelves and they test for contaminants like heavy metals and steroids, which are in a lot of protein supplements. Like, spoiler alert, you're not getting ripped after 3 weeks in the gym. It's actually that there's steroids in your protein powder. And then the other side of that is that they test to see that what it says on the supplement facts label is actually what's in the product in terms of like quantity. Now, it's never going to be perfect, right? You can't actually achieve that, but it is really helpful. And when I was actually selecting supplements for the smoothie program, I had a LabDoor membership that we talked about. I had a LabDoor membership and I made sure that what we were selecting was actually like hitting the mark. So I do that with things for myself, for my family, if somebody needs like a vitamin D supplement. The other thing that's funny, and this is just like a weird science thing, but like the vitamin D that you have in your bloodstream and certain vitamins, the chemical form that's in your bloodstream is often not the same form that's absorbable in your intestines. And a lot of the time what's in the supplement is the form that's in your bloodstream, but your intestines don't recognize it. So you end up not absorbing things because it's just the wrong type.
You can inject it into your vein.
Yeah, I've been by the other one.
Oh, David.
Supplements are a whole like minefield of problems. They're definitely appropriate in certain situations, but it's sketchy at best. So I think doing your research there is really, really important. But I've now derailed us, but
No, that's good. That's actually really,
that's really
very
interesting.
helpful.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
I'm a
I have
bevy
a-
of knowledge about.
I'm so glad I didn't take up the opportunity with Herbalife. So glad.
So glad. Boss babe, I have a really interesting opportunity for you. You're not going to want to miss it.
And I mean, they a little side note too. They know, that the word or the name Herbalife he raises eyebrows because she didn't tell you straight off the back. Hey, I work for Herbalife. Can we have a Zoom call? Right?
Because I would have been like,
"Nah, I'm
bye, but like block, delete, whatever. Like, yeah, I would have. She actually had, this is whatever, but like was following me. Then I guess saw that I wasn't interested in the opportunity. Then unfollowed me, and I was like, oh, I see how it is. So
Fine.
yeah, I was like, all right, sorry for not believing your bullshit.
She did a detox.
Yeah, she detoxed. She's like, you're not part of my group, part of my family. Delete. She got rid of you. You pure.
While we're on the subject of knowledge, I have just one more question that was on my mind about limiting factors. I mean, for whenever we have a new potential client, when I do their assessment, the biggest limiting factors that they would say would be either time or just I don't know, just typically just don't want to do it. What do you find that knowledge would be a limiting factor in terms of wanting to make different lifestyle changes for nutrition?
I think and especially in my field, in my particular practice area, so you guys know the behavior change continuum, right? Where there's like people over here who are just like not ready to change, and there's people over here who are committed. You got to find the people who are committed, because if you're not, I'm not going to do this if you're going to be in halfway. Like, we're not half-assing this. The type of practice that I have, you do have some attrition where you have people who are like, this just isn't really what I want, and they go back to dieting. Also perfectly fine. Like, I'm not here to judge that. I'm here to help you if you want it, but I'm also not wasting my time anymore on people who are not committed. So I think that's more of like a shift on the mental side for me, that, I mean, it's expensive to work with me. It is not cheap. And that to me is the commitment up front that they're in. And so, because for me, if I have a 50% attrition rate, what does that say about me as a practitioner? Like, what does that say if I'm working with people who are not committed to creating change? I mean, I think it says something potentially about like me and like my ability to help people, but mostly I think it says that I'm just willing to take whoever comes at me. And so like what happened when I used to offer one-off sessions, I would have a lot of that where people are like, well, I don't know. And, a lot of like wishy-washy, and like, that's also fine. If that's where you're at, be where you're at, but that's not who I'm trying to work with. So yes, you see a lot of people who are not committed to the change, but it's also, I think, up to me as a practitioner to recognize that and to say, this is not my ideal client. This person is not going to be successful in my program. I'm not going to put them through that just to, for whatever reason. And, just to really like take a step back from that. But that is a really big shift for like getting away from, like, it's super hard not to say no to the money, right? Like, it's super hard to say no to the income of like, shorter packages or people who just want like weight loss help. But I really had to say like hard no, hard stop. But yeah, I mean, you do see it for sure. It's how you handle it. I think that matters.
I really like the point you made, like, of it's not cheap, but it's I think there's a important value there as well, like valuing yourself and your services, in a sense that, like, yeah, I'm not just a $10, $20 program off Instagram you've seen. That, like, it's like, and then the other thing as well, like, I've always like, in my personal experiences, when I've had like physical therapy or like a surgery or whatever, and like when it was something that my body needed or required, yes, I'd rather not spend however much it was, but like I understood that, like, if my body needs to go from where it is to another place or the destination, whatever it takes for me to get there, like, I'll do it. Like, it's like, and that's the thing with clients when they're recovering from an injury or whether I think doesn't even come into the train of thought. They're like, oh, how much money is this? And I find those can be a little frustrating as well to work with, because they're kind of like, they're nickel and diming you, and you're just like, and they're trying to like, you know, barter and stuff. It's like, well, look, this is, and it's also like, you just see past that, like, right? Like, and honestly, like at least with Equinox, when members bought packages with me, they'd some be like, oh, I've only bought 6 packs. And as soon as I took my head away from knowing how many sessions counts they had left, I was like, whatever you want to do, man. You want to buy 1 session? You want to buy 48? Whatever you want to do. Like, and I never meant that in a disrespectful way, but it's like, what I care about is that you come work with, like, we come work together on a frequent basis, and we get to where you want to be based on what you told me, based on your commitment level, this and that and that. And just always took myself out. Like, I'm sure David can attest to that as well. Like, that's just kind of never, but that's also part of like learning the business as well, right? Like, I'm sure like when you determine the wishy-washy people,
I think part of like professional self-care, right? I have a master's degree that wasn't cheap. I have
that too. Yeah, exactly.
That like qualify me. If you want to lowball me and try and ask for discount, now I do offer a sliding scale. If someone can't afford me truly and really want services, I'm here for that. But if you're just not that invested emotionally and you want to take that out on the financial part, I'm gonna you learn to know what that looks like, right?
Yeah, it's just not. Yeah, I'll check back in with you, or like,
listen, maybe
yeah, when they say that, I scratch their name off my list. I'm like, okay, we're done. Yeah,
and that's the thing, is like, I offer a free 15-minute discovery call with anybody who wants it. I'm here to listen. I'm here to help you. I'm here to help facilitate your work. But this isn't my work to do. This is your work. And I'm here for it. But like, and I have a structure and I have a framework, and that's all things that I've built. But I'm also, you know, I'm not gonna not take care of my practice, and I'm not gonna cheapen that. So for me, it's really about like finding that boundary where like people know your worth because you know it. And I think that's an important part too.
I think, and like piggyback off that before I let Angel jump in, like I had a client, she was a Pilates instructor herself. She had her own practice, and she told me a really interesting thing. So she used to charge, I think, $100 an hour. Yeah. Or 150, whatever it was. She moved it up from 100 or 150 to 200, 250. Yep. And out of 10 clients, or I think out of how many she had, do you know how many she lost?
0.
1. So 1 out of like, so like,
it's not about the money.
And she was like, it's not about the money. Yeah. Like, it's not, and you're just like, wow. So that was like, oh wow. Like, you know, and I'd heard of other trainers as well, how much they charge. And like, we have another trainer as well. Like if Antoine, I think he said this, he goes, cause someone said they were training someone in Queens, and most of us are in the Manhattan-ish area. And he was like, Queens? He was like, I'm not charging anything less than $300 to go to Queens. Like, I was like, that's a lot. But like, he's like, yeah, I mean, it's an hour there, an hour when I'm there, and an hour back, like $300.
Yeah. So I factor in like 1 day a week to do like social media and like be managing my content. 1 day a week to really be doing like recipe development and food photography, which is the thing that I love, like love. And I'm actually going to be offering some like food photography basics courses for really anyone who wants it, but specifically for like dietitians and chefs. And then like I have to factor in like a day for admin stuff and like the management of my business. So I really only have like 2 to 3 days a week if I want to work a weekend day to see clients and make that money, if that's like my main income source, right? So I have to charge enough for it to be worth that. And then on top of that, like I really have to place a value on myself. And so, you know, looking at all those things, I don't think there's anything wrong with charging what you're worth. And even when I was taking private practice clients one-off sessions, I was charging $250 to $300 an hour, and that was several years ago. Wow. So, you know, for me, it's, and again, I'm happy to offer sliding scale. I do not under any circumstances think that that number is affordable for everyone. And I believe everyone deserves access to my services. So if it's not there for you, don't still reach out to me. Like if it's not there for someone, I'm not going to turn you away. But at the same time, you know, I need to put a price tag on it, and I'm not cheap.
Yeah, bills to pay.
You know.
Yeah, when we listened to like a couple of Perform Better webinars, and they spoke about that situation where it was like you need to know your worth and charge what you're worth, but also be accessible to everybody. And you're going to have to think a little bit outside the box depending on what you do. Like for fitness, you might have like you might do like a program for the month, like a template for the client, and you might say, okay, this client needs this, that, and the third. You create that, and if the client is more autonomous, then you can offer something a little bit cheaper for them where they might not need the one-on-one attention, but you're still taking care of the programming, and then you can still help everybody. So I'm assuming same goes for what you do as well, like offering a sliding scale.
Yeah,
Is
I haven't
important.
had anyone take advantage of the sliding scale yet, to be honest. I really I guess maybe I should advertise it more. But I think what I want to do in that same vein is actually eventually shift gears and offer a group program as well. So like if you're looking at like a graph of like, you know, x-axis is time and and like level of touch for each client, and then like the y-axis is like how much money you're getting. Obviously the highest touch is the most income, but there's also a lot to be said for like passive income or like less high touch programming. And especially where you can create like a community component. There are a lot of practitioners that run like group programs for the type of work that I do. And I think I'm not quite ready to do that yet, but that's eventually where I'd like to go for both of those reasons. It actually benefits me financially because I'm no longer, you know, tied to hours in the day, like you guys know. But at the same time, like I can still offer a level of service that's better for my clients and that's more affordable. So it's mutually beneficial, I think.
Yeah. We're going to change gears a little bit because I had a client the other day, and when I told him that I would be speaking with a registered dietitian, he was like, oh, just ask her. So the question is, what are some foods that might be better cooked than eaten raw, and what are some of the benefits, if any?
So I will say two things about this. One is that I'm not like a raw diet person, especially in like our food system. I think it's important to wash your food. I think it's important to know how long you need to cook your food.
That's for Jacques. Wash your chicken.
Jacques eats moldy bread. It's fine.
Well, do you wash your chicken?
I just rinse it with water.
No, full stop. Stop rinsing your chicken.
I don't rinse it. I'm glad I got thrown under the bus for no reason.
That's not no reason. That's what you're supposed to do.
Full stop. Cook your chicken thoroughly, but don't rinse it because you're splashing salmonella all over your kitchen.
You hear that, Angel?
Yeah.
Pat it dry with a paper towel. It will also get a better brown on it if it's dry. Just saying. But to actually answer this person's question.
Wow. I didn't know that.
I'm gonna tell my mom that she's gonna slap me upside the head.
Listen, man,
We're the chicken.
That's how I was raised.
That was dry.
You do a lot of things when you're a kid, and then you thought it.
Yes,
my mom does it. My mom rinses the chicken, and I'm like, "What are you doing?"
So pat it dry. Okay, all right, and then we'll go back to steaming or cooking or whatever.
So I'm of the opinion that like any way that you can get like nutritious foods, you should get them. I don't care if it's cooked. As a dietitian, I don't really care if it's steamed. I don't care if it's raw. Unless it's like a super like insane, totally raw diet, in which case I think we're going over the line into like super diet territory. If you're an intuitive eater and you prefer raw food, go for it. If you prefer cooked food, go for it. But nourishing yourself with, you know, fruits and vegetables and whole grains and things, like while also including, you know, fun food, or what people would typically call junk food, I call play food or fun food. That's like the language that we use. So that you stop looking at food as good or bad or clean or dirty. Like those terms are not helpful. As long as your diet includes a variety of foods, I don't really think it matters. And I think it's one of those like diet culture concepts where like, especially if you're living in a first world, especially if you're affluent, especially if you have the money to afford produce, like why do you care? Like it literally doesn't matter. It's not going to make you significantly healthier in terms of like your absorption or in terms of those things. Like it's kind of an irrelevant question. And I think what it is just additional level of diet culture telling you that you should care about something that kind of doesn't matter that much. If you're cramming raw Brussels sprouts down your throat because you think it's better for you, I think you're looking at it the wrong way. You know,
Someone surely is as well. Someone out there.
100% there are
Oh
people
my
out there who
God.
do this. But I think for me, like, it's a question of like, is this worth caring about? And the answer is probably not. If, you know, and then I think it's also like incredibly elitist to say that like organic is better and you should only buy organic. If you can't afford organic fruits and vegetables, and also if you just don't want to pay for that, whatever gets you to the fruits and vegetables, to the whole grains, whatever gets those in your life, I don't care if you put ranch dressing on every vegetable you ever eat. Do you in a way that works and gives you the nutrients. It literally, the other things don't matter, and it is elitist nonsense to talk about it as though everyone should only be eating organic. It's like wild to me that people care about this.
That's huge. I think the fact that you said that as long as you get the vegetables and the right nutrients, even if it's with us, and then that's huge because I know that that's been a struggle with some of the client conversations I've had. The like, just get like, even if it meant the vegetables you didn't like, dress it up with something that you can tolerate it with. I think that's
find a way that it's enjoyable for you.
Yeah.
Or stop eating it and find something else that's
else is just as effective. Yeah.
Like, I really like vegetables, but there are certain ones that like I've just never had them in a way that I've liked. Does it mean that I will never eat them again? No, it means that I will try them and do in new and different ways. But like, I don't like eggplant. Sorry, I'm Italian. I don't like eggplant. Like, I just don't want to eat it. So like, I'm not going to force feed it to myself just because it's low calorie and high fiber. Like, I'm going to find something else. There's lots of vegetables.
Plenty more out there. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I told one of my clients about oatmeal, and he's like, he just shook his head like, no. I'm like, all right, cool. Don't do that.
Well, stop.
Don't eat oatmeal.
David's force feeding him in the morning
All
before
right,
his
cool.
session.
All
Come
right,
on, let's go.
Don't fucking eat oatmeal. That's
And
fine.
I think that's part of the intuitive eating mindset also, that you stop eating things you don't like and focus on things that you do like. But also it gives you the freedom to be adventurous in finding out what you really like and what you don't. A lot of people think that they're like addicted to sugar. You're not. You're just constantly telling yourself you can't have it. So all you're going to do is think about eating it. If you're constantly telling yourself you have to eat eggplant or Brussels sprouts or whatever, like, of course you're going to not look forward to eating vegetables. Like, it's really not about the food. Like, it's almost never about the food. It's about your mindset towards the food. And I think that's kind of like how I view, if you want to eat raw food, eat raw food. If you like that, if it does it for you, if it keeps you regular, does all the things, like, dietitians talk a lot about food. It's like a major measure for how we know if someone's healthy or not, especially in like clinical care. So like, those are things that you should like. Intuitive eating isn't about eating anything you want all the time, but it's about making decisions from a mindset of positivity and wanting to nourish yourself, and also knowing that like fun foods like ice cream and pizza also have a place in your life, and you are allowed unconditional permission to anything that you want, which means that you can then make choices from a positive place for what's actually best for you in the moment. It does not mean, honestly, people say all the time, like, well, I would just eat a pint of ice cream every day. Would you? I actually don't think that you would.
Probably not.
Try it.
I mean, quarantine, I kind of almost said that, but
See how that feels. Eat 1 pint of ice cream every single day and see exactly how that feels. You will stop.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah. You'll stop doing it. Like, you will, really. Like, you'll be like, you know what? I think I've had enough of ice cream.
Oh, like, fuck this. I'm done.
David's agreed to do a live feed every day next week and just eat a pint of ice cream.
IG live as I'm eating it.
Let's do it.
I give you 7 days, 7 pints. Maximum.
Oh,
Okay.
man.
Who's choosing the
David
ice creams
is
though? That's the
right
best
way.
other thing. Who chooses that?
Have any
Mutually,
flavor he wants. You can have
David,
any
you get to choose what flavors you want.
You will eventually have a moment where you're like, I don't want to eat ice cream anymore.
He's a man of broken promises. We were supposed
I think
to do
we should
high
see.
news
I
for
think you
30
should see
minutes.
this. I think you should see this out. I think it'd be very interesting.
But that's what I do
know
with
what?
people, is you take them through this, okay, let's look at what the cultural like norms are, which tell you that you're never allowed to ice cream's a forbidden food. That's why all this bullshit Halo Top stuff, I hate it.
What's your view on Halo Top then?
Hate. It's diet culture in a food, and it's ruining ice cream.
Halo Top is disgusting.
Tastes like fucking ice to me.
Tastes like nothing at all. Nothing at all. And any of my friends who are watching or listening to this are going to be laughing because I rail against Halo Top all. But I have
Haagen-Dazs all the way.
I have one friend who genuinely likes it. eat it.
No problem, right? Do your thing, yeah.
Do you? If you like it, go for it, but look at why you're choosing the foods you're choosing. It matters.
What's influencing it? Yeah.
It's not about the food itself. It's about what's behind the choice. And if you're doing it because you really want to fit into your bikini before the bachelorette weekend, I'm not super supportive of that choice for my clients who are trying to shift away from dieting. If you're still in the diet mindset, do you? But if you're working with me, we're going to say, okay, how is this not serving you? How is that choice serving or not serving you? How is that choice perpetuating the idea that smaller is better? How is that choice? You gotta dial it all the way back to square one and say, how is this choice being fueled by what actually supports you and what you actually want versus what everyone else is telling you should be? So that's really what it comes down to a lot of the time. I think
I'm losing my train of thought. Like I like I don't know if this is something that would kind of be in the same train of thought of the conversations you have with clients as well, but some of the things I've spoken to clients in the past about is like when they're eating food and they associate it with being bad or good. Like if it's like, again, like whole food, I'm like, all right, like how can my body use this? And the reason why I bring that up is when you talk about like the ice creams, for example, like we find like all the big again.
I just did a thing that was like, he's so annoyed.
Yeah. No, it's just like, oh, David. Yeah, David doesn't tolerate my shit, but
whenever he speaks, I'm just like, here we go.
Right. He does a podcast with me every week. Fucking here we go.
Fuck again.
So with ice cream, for example, like if we find like we love crushing ice cream, right? And if you're going to eat ice cream, like what, let's say again, and we're saying, I'm going for the basis of saying that like it's good to have, like I think for the last 3-4 years had like at least one day of the week where I just crush whatever I want for half a day to a day, like whether it's pizza, ice cream, I'll go whatever, right? And then within reason. So long or short of it is, if I'm gonna have ice cream, well, what can my body really get nutrient wise out of ice cream? Not a lot, but it's a cheat meal, right? So
I disagree with that, but continue.
Okay, all right, that's definitely good on a positive note then. Well, but that's just kind of like, well, my thought process is like, oh, my body can't do too much of it, right? Or like positively, right? Maybe I'm just thinking, right? So if I'm saving a couple 100 calories for something I don't think my body's going to gain much use out of, like I'm like, give me the fucking ice cream sandwich with a fucking donut. Like I'm going hard. Like it's.
Yeah, I think the first thing I would say is that I don't believe in cheat days, because it really is like you're walking that tightrope of disordered eating, of binging on a cheat day. When I see posts from like The Rock, who I love, let me be clear. But when I see his posts of his cheat day meals, I'm just like, what are you doing, dude? Like, this is insane. Like, and I'm sure he eats like crazy calorie levels on a regular basis. So
6-7 meals a day, I think, right?
Crazy. But like, what you're doing is validating binging. What you're doing is validating a binge restrict lifestyle, which is not helpful. And a lot of people end up like in a space of like binge eating disorder because there's, and I don't say that like anyone's disordered eating habits are because of anyone else, but I will say that like, I think you're seeing it validated and like encouraged. And I think that that's inherently wrong. And to me, it's like, if you didn't shove it all into one day, it might be peppered in throughout the week. You could have pizza on a Thursday and ice cream on a Monday, and it's ultimately not different. The difference is your mindset. The difference is how are those decisions being made and how are they serving you or not serving you? Because if you're living, and I also would say that like ice cream has calories, which you need for survival. Ice cream has carbs, which are your brain's primary and preferred energy source. Yeah. And it also has fat, which keeps you full. It has protein, albeit not that much, but it has some protein in it. But like to say that ice cream is a food with no nutritional value is scientifically wrong. And also is just not, it's not helping anyone to like see foods as neutral. Because when you're in a space where like pizza has the same ethical and moral value as salad, it's so much easier to make decisions when you're not governed by those outside sources. So like I don't say things like clean or dirty for one thing, because I never would in general, but especially with food, like there's no such thing as a clean food. That's like a white people diet culture word for fruits and vegetables. They're just fruits and vegetables. Like, it's not that serious. Like, and then if you look at like, I don't know who came up with that, but it was probably Goop. I don't know. But like, it's just like, it gets like, so we say things like fun food or play food, or just call it what it is. I'm going to go eat ice cream. Like, I'm going on a bike ride tomorrow to a place in Queens called Comfortland, where I am going to eat a Nashville hot chicken sandwich, and then I'm going to eat a giant tiramisu ice cream. I have no feelings about that. I've been looking forward to it for days. Does it mean that I'm not eating Chinese food last night? Absolutely not. I'm still eating what I want to eat. And like, oftentimes that is health promoting foods. That is often nourishing foods, but it's also other things too. And there's literally nothing wrong with any of it. So my choices for today are my choices today. They're not governed by what I'm going to eat tomorrow. There's no such thing as like saving up your calories. That's just not how biology works. So that is where I think it kind of gets off track. And I think where one of the things that we have to work on with clients in intuitive eating is really shifting that perspective and shifting that language. It's tough. It's not easy.
Yeah, no, I think I probably misspoke in saying that there was no nutritional value in it. I think sometimes in my head I can be a little black and white, and
no, but I think
common perspective.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I think that Tori's making a good point, and it's not to like shame you, because I do the same thing. Look, I just said I wash my chicken. It's like, don't wash your chicken. But like, it's one of those things where you have to. It's like when people ask you about like bicep curls or single joint exercise, like, you know, you got to do this, do that, you know, the glory muscles, things like that. It's like, well, I look at exercises through a different perspective as well as you guys, right? You look at movement patterns. You don't necessarily think
muscle group. Yeah,
exactly. Right. So it's just a different way. And then you start speaking differently because you're actually trying to go for the heart of like what the intent is. You're going towards the intent of the exercise. Same thing with like the intent of the meal, as opposed to just like looking at it as outcome-based meal or outcome-based exercise. Right.
That's 100% what I mean. And there's no, again, like, if you guys live in a space in the world of fitness that I'm extremely familiar with, and it's common language in that space. And I think it's really like, it's again, like, it's no one's fault. It's the language that we use. It's the language of the culture that we're in. In no way do I mean to shame anyone who uses words like that, but what it is I take a neutral approach to food, and that means that the language has to match that. Because no one, you know, is going to get through the intuitive eating process still thinking some foods have like a moral superiority to others. So that's, yeah.
I wanted to ask a question that's kind of like off track of this, but it's a really good question, because I was thinking there's a lot of people who come to me and they say that they are speaking with like a nutritionist, and I'm like, well, what about the registered dietitians? Like, what's the difference? So one thing is, for our listeners, can you kind of go over, like, just in general, maybe like the differences between like nutritionist and registered dietitian, and then also like how you got to your specialization. So like, for those who are listening who might not have the accolades that you have, but are aspiring to, how did you make that path and make that decision?
For sure. And that's a great question, and one that I get a lot. So I'm very specific that I'm a registered dietitian. I don't refer to myself as a nutritionist, and you will never probably hear me say that. I have some strong feelings about it. But in order to become a dietitian, you have to have a bachelor's or very soon a master's, which I don't think is necessary, but topic for another time. You have to have a degree in nutrition. And the reason for that is I have a license to practice in a hospital setting. I can practice medical nutrition therapy. I can accept insurance. I have a medical level of licensure. So you have to have certain coursework as the foundation. I was actually pre-med in college, and then I decided, like, med school sounds bad. I don't want to do that. I'm going to do this other thing that means food and more fun. So every dietitian takes OChem. Every dietitian takes physiology, anatomy. Every dietitian, we all take all of those courses. Like, I know how your body functions. And then We also have to take things like medical nutrition therapy, macronutrients and micronutrients. I took a class called neuromuscular adaptations to exercise, like all this stuff. So we have all these like really science heavy courses as our core. And then you have to do, once you've completed those, you have to then have a year-long, typically unpaid, dietetic internship, which is the equivalent of, and Angel, you and I talked about this, it's the equivalent of like the medical residency for us. It is not as hard as a medical residency, I'm not saying that, but it's our version of that, where we do the same kind of matching system, it's a whole thing. There's a 50% admit rate to that currently.
Damn.
50%. So you went to school and you got your bachelor's and you got your master's and it took you 10 years, like me, and then you don't get matched. Maybe.
What do you do then?
So that's what I'm gonna address that. So
Okay, sorry.
then once you do the year-long internship, then you can sit your board exam. I studied for 8 weeks full-time to pass that board exam, and I have never not passed a test. And like, I'm a huge nerd and super brainy, and I struggled. Like, that was a whole situation. So, you know, I finished my degree I finished my RD license when I was 26, and I would not have been able to do that if I had had some barriers to entry that were like financial. For me, those didn't exist. And most dietitians, I think on the whole, are affluent white women. And that's really what makes up our field. There's about 100,000 dietitians in the country, something like that. And something like 98% of them, these are rough figures, I would actually have to look it up, but like over 90% are white women. And there are reasons for that, which is partly why I think the master's is ridiculous, but that's neither here nor there. On the flip side, so I went through all of that. That took me 10 years-ish. And then now I have the earning potential of basically like, it's limited, unless you want to go into private practice, it's very limited. So on the other side, pretty much anyone can just start calling themselves a nutritionist. There's no requirements legally for people to do that. And there are requirements around calling yourself a dietitian. There's also it's very state to state, but there's really no requirements on offering nutrition counseling because it's verbal. It's free speech. So anybody can say anything they want to say. The reason why not everyone can like call themselves a doctor or practice medicine is because they do procedures. That's not speech. So there's I went to a lecture on this of like the legal situation. So like certain states have licensure requirements. My RD license, my credential is national, and I just have to do continuing ed. I have to do like 75 credits of approved credit to like keep my license up. I just filed for it this year. But on the flip side, like there are some programs out there that like some are 2 weeks, some are 6 months. I don't think any of them really have, and I actually recently did a review of some of them because a friend of mine came to me and said, I want to learn about nutrition. This is a thing I really care about, a thing I think I might want to do. Can you help me pick a program? So I actually had to like learn about them, which was a little ick for me, but she's awesome. And again, one of those people whose heart is in the right place. She wants to help people. So like dietitian is not for everyone. Nutritionist is like much, much more approachable. It's much more financially feasible. If you didn't decide at 18, this is what you wanted to do, like this makes more sense for people. But ultimately, I think it's a bit dangerous. I think there's not a lot of education on scope of practice and when you should refer out. I have a whole list of ways that I screen people for disordered eating before I take them. I have like a whole, but these are all medical things that exist that are not taught in these programs. And then there's also a lot of trainers who do a nutrition add-on for their cert that then offer like meal plans and programming, which I personally find like kind of reprehensible. So the world of like nutritionists is really broad and ever expanding in terms of like who can call themselves that. There's really no limitations. There are some programs, some that are better than others. I wouldn't recommend any of them unless you're like dead set on doing it. but I do think like there's some stuff to be learned there. But if you want to practice in nutrition and you want to actually help people who need help, if you just want to help thin white women be healthier, go get a nutrition cert. Just go do that. If you want to help people who like actually need help or who like have diabetes, like this category should not be touching patient populations that have actual health problems. Like it's just, there's a really big divide. And I think dietitians have a marketing problem. We don't know how to market ourselves. We're so stuck in calling ourselves dietitians. I do it all the time. No one knows what that means. But I'm not going to associate myself or my practice with the wide world of nutritionists because there's just so many things that can mean. So it's a really big divide. I'm not here to like shit on people in this category because again, I think it's like very much like people trying to help. And I think their heart's in the right place, but you can do a lot of harm. And there's really like not a set of professional ethics there to guide. That being said, there's also a lot of dietitians that do harm. So like fully acknowledgement of that, but that's really like the difference. And it really could not be, you could not have two more different groups. And I forget what the other part of your question was, but.
It was just like for somebody who's interested in becoming registered dietitian, let's say they're labeled as a nutritionist and they want to go that route.
Like an RD. Yeah. If you just want to do nutrition, like maybe take the cheaper route and see if you can do that, but like find an RD who might like mentor you. I don't think that's a problem. I don't think it's a conflict of interest. I think I actually have been looking for a mentor for myself, someone to like supervise my practice. Because I want to really be held accountable and want to make sure that I'm not doing harm. But I think if you want to become an RD and you don't have a degree in science, get yourself into a post-bac program, which I looked into doing even though I had a science undergrad. I took a lot of those courses at community college. Like I graduated with like a really like super overpriced liberal arts science degree. Like I had most of it, but there were still gaps. I'd never taken a nutrition class in my undergrad, never. And I was just like, I want to do this thing. Like this is for me for sure. And so I worked for 2 years as a math and science tutor in San Diego. And I retook courses. I retook my LChem class because the grades were not what they needed to be to get into Columbia. And then I like took some other courses and really like got there. It took a couple years. And then I got into some grad schools and I only wanted to be in New York. That was the only thing I wanted. So I chose the school that was here. And, you have to go back to school for it, but make sure the one thing you need to know is, do you have 100% certainty you're getting that internship? Some programs admit all their students, some don't. Columbia did not admit me and I had to go find my own.
Wow. That's wild.
It's a ranking system. So like I ranked them so low that I didn't get matched with them because I really wanted to go back to California. So I was applying to schools out there, but to internships out there. So like we mismatched. And then I ended up finding a distance internship that worked really, really well for me. And if anyone is listening and watching this, I actually am happy to take a call with any person who wants to be a dietitian and talk them through the process a little bit. I do it all the time. I take interns at work all the time. If they're in their dietetic internship and they need supervised practice hours, I've taken like over 100 interns like in my career as an RD because it's a huge part. I teach a couple guest lectures a year at NYU and Columbia for people who want to become dietitians. Like I'm very active in this world of trying to make sure that like they see that there's a career path for them at the end of it, and trying to foster that. So if anyone wants that, connect with me on LinkedIn and we'll get there. But yeah, it's a long road. It's not for everyone. It's not for everyone.
It's tough.
I did want to see if we could ask you one last question. Because we want to respect your time as well. So I know, like, having lived on the West Coast and now you're on the East Coast, what would you say? I'm gonna try and phrase it the right way. What would you say are some of the biggest, if you're thinking health-wise long term, right? Like not just like I said, get away from the stigmatism of having like diets or whatever, but like, what would you say are the biggest nutrition challenges on either coast or comparing them, right? Like I know people who first start living in New York talk about like carb heavy or the bagels and pizza. Like what would you, again, I'm trying to phrase it the right way, but.
I'm actually going to pull a layer back and say that it kind of doesn't matter. I mean, you're obviously asking me a question for people who are living a privileged existence. And I would say that the number one, like, hard thing about being on either coast is if you just can't afford life, right? Or if
that's
you're
a good point, yeah.
in a marginalized group. That aside, because I don't think that's actually what you're asking. But that aside, I do think that I think in California, it is easier to find a vegetable on a menu. But I also think, I get this question a lot, like, who has better food, like California or New York? California has better produce,
New York.
hands down. New York has better food. California has better produce. The food tends to be simpler. The food tends to be, I just think, like, you don't have to do a lot to it. And my chefs would agree. So the last 5 years, I've been the only dietitian on an all-chef culinary team. So for your reference, like, my world is food. But I think in California, it's easier to find and consume fruits and vegetables on, like, any menu anywhere. There's a lot of, like, voodoo healthisms that happen in California. Like, a lot of the health trends that eventually make their way everywhere else begin.
Start there. Yeah, I've heard.
City, USA. I mean, we're really responsible for granola. So, you know, like juice fasts, like name it. I mean, I'm sure we're adopting them from other people's cultures, but you get what I'm saying. But I think the biggest thing here is that you have to seek out vegetables. I personally, my favorite activity on Saturdays, I go to the farmer's market. I'm a basic white girl. Like, what are you gonna do? So, like, I want to go, like, for a walk in the park. I want to go get my vegetables for the week. But, like, I plan my menus based around what vegetables are in season and what looks good, because I know I can't just go to the store and get anything. California, it's not the same deal. I also would say, like, one of the big barriers here is, like, you guys have, well, we have winter. Like, winter is terrible. I don't know.
Winter's a bitch.
Who thought it was a good idea, but it's awful. And it's bad for so many reasons, right? Like, you're losing vitamin D from the sun. You're not able to be as physically active. People have seasonal depression, like all those things. And, like, you want comforting foods. Like, in California, it's like, where I'm from, it's 72 degrees year round. So it's like, yeah, I can have this, I can have that. I'm not craving anything in particular. I mean, I eat a lot of Mexican food when I'm there, but, like, you get what I'm saying?
That's two reasons to go there: the weather and the Mexican food.
Oh, 100%. And actually, it's more than likely I'm moving back in the next couple of months. But I am
Before winter, quick.
very much looking forward to the Mexican food in my life on a regular basis. But I don't know if that answers your question, but I think
no, it does. It's that's kind of that. Yeah, I kind of the without touching on the depression, that is and the feeling the comforting foods. Like, it's always a thing where when it's colder, like, me and my girlfriend already go into, like, oh, there's pumpkin bagels. I was like, I can't. No, I was like, I think this is gonna be the first year that we don't go for them, because, like, and I love Trader Joe's. I know Trader Joe's is from California.
Immediately after this, I'm gonna buy all the pumpkin stuff.
Well, I kind of did that last night, so I'm kind of, like, contradicting myself. But I love it, actually. But I just think that what you're saying as well, like, when it's warmer, the temptations aren't there, and it's a
different feel. It's a different feel.
Yeah, and I think as well, like, I had some clients who originally were from California, and some of them were vegan, and they said, like, if you do go out there, and, like, there's so many more vegan options out there, like, whatever your choice is, but, like, that's yeah, because I think, like, personally as well, that we want to move out there at some point, and I know it's very unfortunate. Say again. I was asking all these questions, like,
where this was going. Trying to keep with someone, or trying to.
Well, it's just like
about your decision to leave.
To me, it's like, so I'm originally from the UK, and, like, the weather is a lot blander in terms of, like, summer and like autumn, and we call it autumn, like fall and winter, whatever. So, like, I come here and it's a lot warmer in the summer. It's a lot colder in the winter. And I'm like, fuck, it's like both extremes. And when I'd gone out there, Angel, I know David wasn't there and he gets pissed when he's mentioned this, but we went out there 2 years ago for a conference and I kind of had a gut feeling I'd want to go out there at that point. And then we went out there. I was like, I fucking want to go here. Like, I mean, we also stayed at we went to a conference in Long Beach.
Oh, okay.
Which
David's
cool.
like, oh God.
Perform Better Summit.
David's
But
face.
like long story short, like we were in there for a few days, and then one of my clients has a place in Studio City, and it was very nice, and like obviously like that was a one in a lifetime thing to be able to stay there and stuff. So like that's not how life would always be out there, like for me, but it was a good experience, and it was.
You see what the food is like very quickly.
Yeah, and like we're in the health and wellness industry, and like people are more conscious of it, and like again, it's been the positive thing in the whole lockdown, at least in New York City, I think like has been people working outdoors and just being creative, and that's going to be really tested. I mean, I had a client this morning at 9 a.m. and we were like, we pushed off the whole session the whole week because of the weather. Like, and that was first week of September, like last week of September, first week of October. It's like, it's just only going to get harder. So, yeah, I mean,
that's my client to get a parka and some Timbs, and we'll be working out in the park still. It's not good.
Well, and I think the other thing I'll say is that if you want that in New York, I think you can find it. I think if you want
can, yeah,
lifestyle, but you have to seek it out. Whereas
that's
in
what I'm saying. You have, yeah,
more like the default, like you're just like bombarded with acai bowls and like quinoa stuff and all that shit. But like in New York, like I'm actually going to dinner. I haven't eaten in a restaurant yet, but one of my favorite restaurants in New York, it's called Loring Place. They do a
on 8th Street.
I love Loring Place. Yes.
Oh, we will tell it. See, you like it? Okay, we gotta go.
I love it. I'm a big fan. It's probably my favorite restaurant in the city. And that's like, it's my favorite, not because, sorry, Dan, the chef who runs it, but like, it's not, I don't think like the most blow your mind. Like, no, you're going to get that shit in Chinatown. Like the thing that's going to like knock your socks off, but like, and I'm a big fan of like hand pulled noodles and all that stuff, but like in New York City, if you want like a solid, really good meal and you're into his flavors and like, I really love citrus, like he cooks like he's from California. There's something in it that just feels Californian to me. It's very nostalgic, but it's like a New York spin on like the way California treats produce. Like it's just a really special experience. And I go there with one of my friends who's also like kind of from California. And so we'll go and just like, they have like a wood oven and they do like pizzas. So it like gives you that, like everything in California is grilled. So it gives you that kind of like feel, so I think like it resonates with me both for my taste buds and also for my heart, but there's a lot of restaurants like that. I think the food here is unparalleled and it just breaks my heart to watch the restaurant scene in New York.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to see it.
It's getting pummeled. And I mean, the company that I've worked for, we have restaurants. Like I've been working in food in New York City. Like it doesn't get any better. And, but I think that will come back. Hopefully, that's my hope, that it'll come back to maybe a different version of itself, but it'll reinvent itself. I mean, New York's not going anywhere, but I do think like certain restaurants, if you want to have a vegetable forward meal experience, it's easier in California, but you can definitely get it here.
Check it out.
And I think, but I just think like there's a lot of shitty restaurants in California because they don't have to try that hard. Like it's like, oh, here's a salad. Like, it's just not like, there's not a lot of effort put into it a lot of the time. And it's like not great, but like it tastes good because the vegetables are good, but it's not like the level of execution that you see here. So I just
it's had a couple of Instagram posts and it's just blown up and it's just half decent. There's that too, right?
I think it comes down to like the local nature of the produce. I mean, everything's pretty much grown there largely, or in Mexico. Like I grew up in a house where we had like a huge garden in our backyard. Like I go home and pick avocados in winter, like in my backyard. So
must
like,
be nice.
Yeah, it's a super different thing. I mean, I live now here, like that's obviously not happening. Like there's 90% of my apartment, but like, it's just like it's just a whole different lifestyle and experience. But yeah, these have been great questions today.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry if we went over. Thank you
you.
so much for taking the time. I really
I'm
appreciate
just
it.
going to Trader Joe's, so it's no big deal. Totally my plan today. I'm pretty
Spent
sure.
endless hours in Trader Joe's.
Well, I had to quarantine when I got back, and I haven't gone into any businesses. So I haven't, like, I've had people like bringing me groceries and stuff, and I'm like, this one, I'm going to Trader Joe's.
Get your pumpkin assortment.
I'm going to the grocery store.
Hey,
It's
well,
a very pleasurable activity for me. So
I agree.
yeah.
anyway,
Well,
thank you so much for
thanks,
having
Tori, for being on the episode with us.
Yeah.
This is very informative, very good questions. And where can we find you on social media? If anybody has any questions, your website.
Yeah, I mean, my website is definitely not the best place to reach me. I'm on the gram, Tori's Table, very, very easy. And I respond quite quickly. I'm pretty much addicted to my phone. So I think what's important to note is that, like, when you seek out practitioners on Instagram, I'm happy to talk to you about what I do, but I can't offer advice in that capacity.
Yeah.
So I just give that as a warning for people. I'm not going to talk you through how to lose 5 pounds in my DMs or in general, but like that happens a lot where you get people who are like, I have this major problem, and it's like, I can't do that here. It's not HIPAA compliant. It wouldn't respect their privacy. It would be illegal for me to do that, and also just not helpful. So, but anyone who wants to connect and learn more about my services, that's great. And then, I'm happy to come back again if you guys want to talk about something else.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'd love to have you back on. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Definitely.
Cool. Thank you.
Guys.
All
Thank
right.
you so much.
Thanks, Tori.
I'll leave now so you guys can talk about me behind your back.
No, only positive things, we swear, honest.
All right, you guys have a good weekend.
All right.
All right. Thanks,
Bye,
you
take
too.
care. Bye.
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 All right, guys.
Awesome.
That was it was a good podcast. That was
Great episode.
excellent. I got to stop washing my chicken. I'm still shell-shocked by that.
Apparently. Shit. I didn't know that.
Oh, and you
I
try
had
to
no
throw me
idea.
under the bus.
Yeah, I
It
tried
was
to do
me.
that, and then I got thrown. That was like a wrestling move.
It was like, no, you come back here and you go.
Holy smokes. But no, that was, so many things that she touched on were eye-opening. So anybody who's listening, I think everybody who's listening can kind of like have at least one takeaway, which is good.
Oh, man, that's funny. I know David has to leave soon, right?
Yeah, David's got to head out soon.
I
So any plans this weekend, David?
Not really.
Wait, is your back better?
Yeah, how's your back feeling?
Back's okay. Back's compared to Tuesday, it's like 90% better.
All right, so
Okay.
we're doing a shoot tomorrow.
It was more not.
Well, no, because we were thinking we jumped on a FaceTime. I think you were at the club. We don't have to be doing stuff during a shoot. It can be like, I mean, look, we just think it's a possibility, but we're just talking about maybe trying to do a shoot and something low key, like with like portrait mode or one of our cameras. So I have more stuff for the social media and the website and stuff. It doesn't have to be us like doing like 20 swings until we get the right shot, So.
Yeah.
That's
All right,
enough.
I mean, I don't know. Wait. You want me to commit to it now? We got to.
Well, I was thinking it'd be some. Should we try and do it? Like, I don't know what your schedules are like.
I think we
but
should do it
it's
because we
worth.
need more diversity.
Yeah, I'm down to do it, but we got to decide on when.
Well,
Tomorrow, bro.
tomorrow.
What you doing tomorrow?
What time tomorrow?
Yeah, that's another thing.
What time works best for you? You throwing, what's going on?
I'll let y'all know.
Oh, you see?
So
Yeah, it was a
I'm
no
not
from
coming.
the jump. It was a no from the jump.
Listen, you guys like to just like nab at me. And I don't fucking.
No, we're not
budge.
nabbing.
I'm good.
No, not nabbing. Again, you were. I think
It's
you were at
fine.
the club.
First, I mean,
yesterday.
listen. I gotta get a haircut. Apparently, I gotta shave my beard. I gotta get a new headset.
All right, David.
I
David,
gotta do a lot of shit.
You
so,
looked fresh as fuck
No.
on that video of you squatting.
Yeah, that was a good video.
It was like last
That's all-
year.
No, that was a good video.
nah.
No, wait, that
'cause
was. I don't remember.
That's
I think that was, like,
since
in
we left
January.
the club because that squat rack wasn't there when we left. They put it the day we fucking left. I was like, "You leaving? We got the budget now." Boom.
True, I guess.
Yeah, I forgot that was like a throwback because when I saw it, I was like, damn, David cut his beard. He trimmed, he did this, he did that. And then I realized, I was like, wait a minute, where's his mask?
That's the
And
old
I
day.
was like, oh, that
the
was
new
the
day.
That's the old day.
Get used to it.
You look fresh as fuck. That's all I'm saying, man.
Yeah, you look fresh in that video. You look fly.
Freshness comes from within.
Yeah, but
There you go. Mm-hmm.
Tell it to my armpits.
I mean, you got to wear deodorant. All right.
All right. Wrap it up. See you guys. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Cool.
bye, guys.
Bye.
Deuces.